Guys, I've made it! I'm on top of the official Amulet wiki! Dad, are you proud of me? Dad? Anyways, welcome back to Amulet, a comic book series aimed at elementary schoolers and preteens that had a massive impact on my generation, back in the good old 2010s, when we were still playing with silly bands and slap bracelets. Amulet was a comic that shook things up, a book that wasn't afraid to delve deep into the themes of loss and power. It's still kinda crazy to think that this is aimed towards youngins. I still remember having nightmares about the creepy tentacle monsters from the first book, and the rat creatures from Bone. Anyhow, today we're going over the next two books in the series, The Cloud Searchers and The Last Council. So sit down, get comfy, and let Papa Merrick read you a bedtime story. Also, go watch my first video, otherwise you will be immensely confused. I'll wait. Alright, we're back in the land of Eladia, where last off, Naven sucker-punched Luger into the abyss, with the help of Emily and the house mecha. Their mom was also healed, and now they're on a mission to save Eladia from the elves. But unbeknownst to them, Trellis is still around, and has been wandering nearby in the forest. While he trudges through the forest, he comes across Luger, naked in a cave. Ayo! In the previous battle, Emily destroyed Luger's amulet, which was the main reason for Luger being so evil. So now he's just a submissive old guy. Also, just to recap, the magic stones in this universe have a way of warping your mind to only think about becoming more powerful. It's very reminiscent of, Lord of the Rings. Luger tells Trellis that if they go back to the Elf King now, he will surely kill them. So Trellis calls the Elf King up and tells him that they will not return until they've killed Emily. Then he destroys the transponder. So now Trellis and Luger are both traitors. So the Elf King calls upon the help of an assassin named Gablin, who has been hired to kill Emily and Trellis. Back to Emily and the Robo family. They're all hiding in the forest and have decided that they are going to leave the house behind since they're trying to lay low. But before they depart, Emily meets with Leon in the library. He tells her that their next destination will be the city of Cielis. But then he drops some lore about how the city used to be the world capital of Eladia, when Eladia was still ruled by a council of stonekeepers. You see, he used to live there and was told by the council to bring Emily to them when she got Silas's amulet. But then the elves came and destroyed the city, and there was nothing left of it after the battle. But some speculate that the city was lifted into the sky by the last remaining stonekeepers, where it floats to this day. So, is one of the stonekeepers an elf from One Piece? This book is literally Amulet Sky PR. But yeah, Leon found some of Silas's old notes talking about how to get to the flying city. But the notes are unfinished, so they don't have a lot to go off of. Anyhow, they go back outside, and they're finally on their way. Leon, Cogsley, Misket, Naven, Emily, and Emily's mom all make their way to an old town known for housing a lot of pilots. They find a bar where they can hire a captain to take them to the city of Cielis. You know what? I'm just gonna call it Skypea from now on. Leon, Misket, and Emily enter the bar and ask around for any ship captain willing to fly them to the lost city. Most of them just laugh at them and think they're crazy since the city is just a myth now. But one cat guy says he's seen the city before, but he's not willing to fly them there since it's kind of just a coincidence that he found it in the first place. But as they're arguing with the boy kisser geezer, two elf guards come bursting into the bar in search of two fugitives. Emily hides her face with her hood, just as the elves are about to discover her, when the other elf comes in with the fugitives that they were searching for. It's Trellis and Luger. Apparently, they were sleeping in an alleyway like a couple of homeless people.
Prince Trellis, I know you've always had a rebellious nature, but what have you done to deserve this? What act of treason compels your father to have us kill you? What have you done?
Simple. He's not my father. Your king is dead.
Your father's instructions were to bring you in dead or alive. Don't make me choose to bring you to him in pieces.
Hold on, is it just me or does Trellis look way better in this book? I mean, if you look at the first book, Trellis looks kinda ugly and creepy. Now he looks cool. He's a bad boy with daddy issues, and he's pulling off that red bandana really well. Anyways, Emily decides to help Trellis and Luger by taking out one of the guards that is holding them captive. Then it becomes a race to the docks, because for some reason the Captain Kitty Man had a change of heart and now is helping them fly to Skypea. They get into some shenanigans along the way, with an elf in a mech suit shooting at them, and them also violating a car stop paper checking stand. And finally, Emily using her magic to deflect rockets. Oh yeah, and Trellis helped because I forgot to mention, they brought Trellis and Luger along. So now we get to see more of a teen edgelord and reformed drug addict's grandpa. But later back at the bar, the elves are drinking up since they know they're probably gonna get killed for letting Emily and Trellis get away. But then Such a stupid name! Gablin shows up and uses some really extra memory-sucking machine to find out where Emily and Trellis went. And the elf he used it on now can't remember anything. So now Gablin knows that they're headed to Skypiea. Meanwhile on the ship, Emily is having a nightmarish vision where her amulet shows her the destruction of her world that will happen if the Elf King's reign is allowed to continue. Then she wakes up in a cold sweat. Later in the morning, Luger and Emily's mom start cooking breakfast like an old married couple, and Naven starts to bother the pussycat captain about wanting to drive the ship, and Emily is training her powers with Leon. She's still trying to learn how to protect things with her amulet when Mr. Edgelord shows up and does a way better job. Pfft, freaking show off. But also, I love this freaking dude. He's trying to be like Zuko, and Luger can be Uncle Iroh. Just then, a bunch of alien bird monsters start swarming the ship and attacking the engines. So now they have to fix the engines before they crash. So Misket helps Cogsley walk onto the ship wing to repair the engine, while Trellis and Emily use their amulets to protect him from the monsters. But right when everything seems fine and the engine is fixed, Misket gets yoinked by one of the flying creatures, and Cogsley gets dragged off since they were still tied together. And I gotta be real, I was so sad reading this part as a kid. I straight up thought Misket and Cogsley were dead. Freaking Misket was my favorite character back then. Not like now, because I'm a freaking Trellis fanboy all the way now. Speaking of Trellis, he saves Emily, who stupidly jumped off the ship trying to rescue Misket and Cogsley. Then the birds finally back off, and everyone is left feeling pretty depressed. And also, the ship is low on fuel now. So Enzo, yeah, that's the cat guy's name, decides to land the ship at a nearby outpost. The outpost is owned by an old friend of Enzo's, and apparently she doesn't really like him anymore. Don't do anything foolish.
Hey, Sel. Long time no see. You look good.
What are you doing here, Enzo? But either way, she agrees to help them repair and fuel up. So the crew spends the night at the outpost. And hold on. I just realized that Enzo the Catman is literally just Han Solo, and his ex-girlfriend is like a gender-bent cat version of Lando Calrissian. Bro, so many things in this series I can relate to Lord of the Rings or Star Wars. It's freaking insane! Anyways, before they go to bed, Emily asks Trellis why he wanted her to join him in killing his father, the Elf King, at the beginning of the series. He tells her that the Elf King is no longer his father. You see, a while ago, when he was still on decent terms with the Elf King, he snuck a look at him with his mask off and saw his father's face, but he was dead. The amulet that he wears killed him and is using his corpse as a vessel to control and take over Eladia. Once again, this is a children's book, and we're talking about evil entities controlling dead bodies. Freaking insane! The next day, they set off to find Skypiea. They travel through a big storm where they see giant sea whales and have to traverse through a bunch of tornadoes. But Naven comes in clutch and drives them to safety. They make their way to a clearing where they find a floating island, but it's not Skypiea. It's like a checkpoint before they get there. They dock at the island, and Emily, Leon, Trellis, Enzo, and Luger make their way to the center, where they find a big floating rock formation. Meanwhile, on the ship, Gablin has snuck on board and kidnapped Naven and their mom. Yeah, he's been sneaking around since the outpost, just hiding and waiting for his moment to strike. Back to Emily, Leon instructs both Trellis and Emily to put the pieces of the floating rock back together, which will send out a beacon to Skypiea to pick them up. But just as they finish, Gablin shows up and threatens to kill her mom. We also get some new lore dropped when Luger recognizes Gablin. Apparently, Gablin was hired by the Elf King to wipe Luger's mind. That's when it's revealed that Luger is also the son of the Elf King, and that means Trellis and Luger are both brothers! So I guess the whole Zuko and Uncle Iroh theory was a bust. But just then, Emily and Trellis team up and use their powers to beat Gablin, and Emily yeets him off the island, where he flies away. That's when this guy shows up with a bunch of soldiers. Very impressive showing, Stonekeeper. Who are you? My name is Max Griffin. I will be your escort to Cielis. Griffin? Bro, this guy is straight up Meg Griffin. Just gender bent and with a freaking Dragon Ball Z hairstyle. Also, bro really just came in with a slow clap. Who does this guy think he is, a James Bond villain? Max is there to take everyone to Skypiea. So they all get on Max's airship and blow up the little checkpoint island so the elves won't find them. Then they get sucked into a wormhole that brings them to the lost city of Cielis. I mean Skypiea. Whatever! And that's the end of the third book. We start off in the next one with Emily taking a nap on the airship. She has a dream where she meets her amulet. The amulet tells her that where she's going now, she will not be able to hear its voice. Lastly, it warns her to beware of the Hall of Humble Kings. Pass through the end, and the game will begin, whatever that means. Then she is woken up by Max, who says that they are arriving at the island. But before they enter, Max tells Emily that the Stonekeeper Council is dying, and they are in dire need of new Stonekeepers to take their place. However, to replace them, young Stonekeepers must go through a series of tests. We also learn that Max is the leader of Cielis' guard, and kind of runs everything. Then they all get placed in separate planes to fly down to the floating island. And is it just me, or does this city look kind of like Gondor from Lord of the Rings? Like, actually, it looks exactly like that. Anyways, when they land, they're separated. Emily, Naven, and their mom go with Max so Emily can get prepared to meet the council. Enzo, Leon, and Rico, Enzo's brother, are told that they can't go with them because Sky People Sky People? Because Sky People are racist or something. So they decide to take... Sky people. I can't get over that, bro. So they decide to walk around the town to find some food. As for Luger and Trellis, they get thrown in jail because they're elves. Yay, I love racism in my kids' books. Also, Trellis feels like something is not right here.
I suppose all we can do now is wait until the Elf King finds us here and kills us.
We may not have very long to wait.
What do you mean?
You don't smell it? This place is already compromised. Everyone here is stricken by fear. They're crippled by it. The city walls will fall even before the king arrives. Bro, this is why Trellis is my favorite character. That was a hard-ass line. But back to Emily. They have been taken to the Capitol building, where they must wait to see the council. Emily is kind of fed up with waiting, and feels like something is off as well. But they have no choice but to wait and see what happens. Meanwhile, the others are still looking for a place to get food. But everywhere they go, people turn them down, and they all look frightened of something. Enzo chalks it up to everyone just being racist, until a little girl named Allison finds them and tells them to follow her. She can get them food. So they enter a small hole-in-the-wall restaurant where they find the girl's parents. The parents tell them to leave, saying that the city is cursed, and if they stay, the Guardian Council will lock them up and kill them. They also hear about ghosts roaming the streets, or at least people who are supposed to be dead. Then, as they are talking, the city guard arrives at the door, most likely looking for the furry crew. Allison helps them escape as her parents answer the door.
I knew Cole Duncan most of my life. He was a good friend, and he died a proud soldier. I don't know who or what you are, but you are not Officer Cole Duncan.
Silence. You are arrested for conspiring against the council.
Let us go!
They know, sir.
Buy me more time, Duncan. I need some more time.
Then we cut back to Miskit and Cogsley, who are trapped in a giant bird's nest. Remember how they got separated from the rest of the crew? Saddest 2 pages of my childhood life. Anyhow, they befriend a little dragon baby, and then get picked up by some old guy, who brings them back home with him. We learn that this guy used to be on the original Stonekeeper Council with Cielis. His name is Vigo. He tells them how every Stonekeeper gets their stones from something called a Mother Stone, that lives deep within the floating city. Cielis advocated to destroy the Mother Stone, so it doesn't get in the wrong hands, which is eventually what got him exiled from the council. Later, after that happened, Vigo realized that the council was just a bunch of fearful old men who didn't have Aladia's well-being in mind, so he left the council and settled down. But ever since his son died trying to kill the Elf King, he's never been the same. Miskit tells Vigo that Cielis is dead and that Emily has taken his place, and now they're on a mission to help Emily destroy the Elf King. He asks if Vigo wants to join them, but he refuses, until he changes his mind at the last minute and picks up Miskit and Cogsley as they're sailing off. Now they're on course to the floating city to help Emily. Speaking of Emily, she's sleeping in the council's guest room when she is wakened by a soldier taking her away to meet the council. They make her change into some new drip, and then she is brought into a walled-off forest where she meets back up with Max and other young Stonekeepers who are there to be tested. Also, everyone hates Max for some reason, because he tricked them all into joining this test thing without knowing it. Emily is informed that they will all be transported into the Void, which is a virtual space where they will all be sent to be tested. So now this is basically just Hunger Games. Also, if you die in the Void, you become a stone statue. Then out of nowhere, the council shows up and transports them into the Void. But when they get there, Max and Emily discover that this must not be the Void, since Max is able to bleed, and apparently you can't bleed in the void. So they inform the others, who are all already trying to kill each other. They all settle down as Max explains that he recognizes where they are. They're in the catacombs under the city where precious treasures are kept and guarded. Guarded by who, you ask? Well, these guys. Yeah, more nightmare fuel for children to chew on. So they all run off as a couple of them get picked off by the monsters. Max uses his amulet to make a massive explosion to buy them more time for escaping deeper into the island. They escape the caves through a water pipe and find their way into some old ruins. Meanwhile, the others are sneaking into the guards' secure prison with the help of Allison to break Luger and Trellis out. They rescue them, and they all team up to find Emily, but one of the cellmates rats them out. They rush to the rooftops where they fight the guards, but as they fight, the guards they kill turn into stone. Something is definitely amiss here. They're being overwhelmed by the guards when Misket, Cogsley, and Vigo show up and rescue them, destroying all the guards, who turn into stone. Trellis and Leon are confused, but Vigo explains that the guards were just stone statues that were being controlled by a stonekeeper from far away. But that still begs the question of why they looked like people who have died. Turns out the power of fear helps fuel the magic used on the statues, which is why they all seem to be like real people who have died. That also insinuates that whoever was controlling the statues is a very powerful stonekeeper, who must be directing their real attention somewhere else. Back underground with Emily, they are traversing their way through an Indiana Jones style puzzle and making their way into the Hall of Humble Kings. Emily recognizes the place from her dream, where the amulet told her to be wary of it. She tries to warn Max, but he doesn't listen and continues onward. They enter into a clearing where they find the Mother Stone, and it's revealed that this was all an elaborate scheme by Max to have Emily help him get into the secret cave and steal the Mother Stone. All the other stonekeepers were just stone statues controlled by Max, as well as all the guards and the council. So that means Max has been controlling this entire city on his own by manipulating the forms of dead people and keeping the residents fearful and controlled. Then a couple of guards show up with Emily's mom and Naven. He tells her that if she attacks him, the guards will kill them, so she lets him go. He escapes as Trellis and Vigo show up and try to stop him. As he flies away, it's revealed that the whole reason he stole the Mother Stone was so that he could give it to the Elf King, so he could use it to make a new Stonekeeper Council that he controls. Yeah, it suddenly got really confusing and convoluted, but all you need to know is that the book ends with everyone getting back together and Vigo and Emily talking about how they are both some of the very last Stonekeepers alive. They perform a mourning ritual for the long dead Stonekeepers. And the book ends. Yeah, just leaves you wanting to know more, doesn't it? Turns out, this is actually as far as I ever got when reading these books in elementary school. Back then, the library only had the first 4 books. So going forward, I have no idea what's gonna happen. Anyhow, if you enjoy these types of summary videos, show me by leaving a like and subscribing, so I'll be motivated to make more videos. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye!